Cross was born John de Yepes on June 24, 1542, in Fonteveros, Spain. St. John was well acquainted with self-sacrifice, as his family moved from one village to another trying to make a meager living, finally ending up in Medina. He was able to work in a hospital, spending years aiding poor people with incurable diseases, while receiving schooling with the Society of Jesus, the Jesuits. St. John believed he was told in prayer that his life was to be dedicated to God. He studied at the University of Salamanca, was ordained a priest in 1567, and joined the Carmelite order. He concentrated his studies on the humanities, mystic theology, and philosophy under one of the leading biblical scholars in Spain, who had great influence on John. St. John of the Cross met St. Teresa of Avila, a famous Carmelite nun. She convinced him to join him in establishing a monastery of friars dedicated to a more primitive rule, requiring solidarity and silent contemplation. Many of his fellow friars thought this form was too strict and completely disagreed with returning to that reform. St. John thoroughly believed that a holy life of prayer and sacrifice was required in order to experience a complete union with God, and refused to give in. He was severely criticized and berated, finally evolving into imprisonment by his superiors. He was isolated in a narrow, dark cell and publicly beaten, suffering separation and desolation. But God did not forsake St. John. He empowered him with blessings and favors. A kind guard had slipped some paper into the cell, and John used his suffering to write the most profound literary masterpieces of Spanish literature: the Spiritual Canticle, the Dark Night of the Soul, and the Ascent to Mount Carmel. All narratives concerning the journey of the soul in search of God, and all determined to be the best poems ever written in the Spanish language. St. John escaped from his prison and continued to help St. Teresa build monasteries across Spain. He was canonized in 1726 by Pope Benedict XIII and was declared one of the 33 Doctors of the Church by Pope Pius XI in 1926. St. John of the Cross was the patron saint of contemplative life, mystic theology, and Spanish poets, and we celebrate his feast day on December 14th.